Today is a great day, and on behalf of the state of Alabama, Houston County, City of Dothan, and our area business community, welcome to today's very exciting announcement. Behind me on this stage today, I want to recognize and welcome the following leaders that have made this day possible. From our state legislative delegation, Representative Steve Klaus, Senator Donnie Chastain, Representative Paul Lee, Representative Jeff Sorrells. We also have SpectraCare CEO Melissa Kirkland with us, and from the Houston County Commission, Chairman Brandon Shoup, Commissioners Curtis Harvey, Tracy Adams, Ricky Herring, and James Ivey, and also our county administrators here with us, Peter Covert. From the City of Dothan, Mayor Mark Saliba, Commissioners Kevin Dorsey, Aristotle Kirkland, Bradley Bedwell, John Ferguson, who is also representing Senator Tommy Tuberville's office, Gant Pierce, and David Crutchfield. We also have with us City Manager Kevin Cowper. Also, we want to thank the many Chamber board members, Matt Parker, and Chamber staff that are here with us today, and our media partners that are in attendance. And we also want to thank Vincent with the City of Dothan for his work and support to set up today's event. Today's announcement to strengthen the foundation of mental health services is another important development in our area's infrastructure to serve our citizens. A study obtained by the American Psychiatric Association indicated that a large proportion of psychiatric facilities in the United States do not provide psychiatric walk-in or crisis services. Availability of these services either has stayed flat or is declining. Today, in the Wiregrass, our visionary leadership, with the support of the individuals behind me, have worked diligently to address this challenge. So now, please let me welcome our CEO of SpectraCare, Melissa Kirkland, to announce today's great news.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you everyone who's here. I could not be standing here today without the support of everyone behind me. And just for my purposes, I want to introduce you to some board members that we have. We serve 5 counties, and we have appointments from our municipalities in those counties. But here are representatives from our Dothan City Commission and also from our Houston County Commission. Our board president is Ms. Sharon Kelly here, and then we have Robert Ferguson and Ron Story here with us today. And as you can tell, I'm just overwhelmed and excited to be here. 15 years we've been waiting for a crisis center, or we have in my team. And if you're part of SpectraCare's executive team, I'm just going to ask you to stand as well and even come over here, please, because we went after this funding 2 years ago in a competitive process that was a partnership between the Alabama Department of Mental Health and the Alabama Legislature. Governor Ivey knew that mental health needed to be a priority in our state, and we did not have the funds at that point in time to create a continuum that could take care of everybody that walked in our doors. We knew 15 years ago we needed a crisis center. We needed a place where people could come at the right time and the right place when they were in crisis. Many times they call and doors are not open, and so they have nowhere to go, and they end up in our jails and they end up in our emergency rooms. COVID made that even more difficult to treat. Just in Houston County alone, we had over 1,200 new people enter our doors in the last year and a half. 1,200 new people, many without any way and any funding or any insurance or ability to pay for their care. And we know what our ERs were going through, and we know what our jails have gone through. So to go after this funding and be awarded this and be part of the governor's and the legislative delegation's vision is just more than I could even imagine. I mean, standing up here today, I've never been prouder to live in this community. I've never felt more support than from the people behind me, and I can't thank them enough and thank you enough for all that you've done. We wrote this proposal 2 years ago and kept our fingers crossed that we would gain one of these 6 crisis centers in the state, and it was a hard competition. But we were able to get up there in the top, and like they said earlier, we had everything we needed but a building. And so we kind of just said, we're going to go for it, and we'll find it when we get there. And it's people in this room. It's Matt Parker from the chamber. It's the individuals behind me for getting the funding. It's Danny Sharp for taking me to many places to look. It's from the banking industry to everyone in this room. You've made this happen for our community. And there's going to be no wrong door now. We'll have a place for people to come when they're in crisis. We answer those calls every day that say, my son's out of control. My husband's addiction is taking him down. I'm depressed. Suicidal calls from our school system, calls from our children, calls from our adults. Many of this team you're looking at you before has been here over 30 years. We've been working together and answering those calls. And we've always known that it took the community to work together to answer those calls. And many times it's us handing somebody off from a first responder to SpectraCare, or from the jail to SpectraCare. And now we're going to have a place where community members can come, where law enforcement can come, where first responders can bring people when they really need help in their crisis at that time, and they can get the right help at the right time. And I could not be prouder to stand up here and announce that, and to thank the city and the county and the chamber for helping us fund that facility. It's going to be at, let me look at the new address, 2740 Headland Avenue, and we'll have an anticipated open of May of 2023. The governor will come down and help us cut that ribbon, and I hope everybody behind me is there as well, and that we know now we're going to be able to put that piece of our continuum that we've been looking for many years, but especially for the last 15 years. So thank you so much for all you've done. Thank you to my board for always supporting me. Thank you for my staff who wrote that proposal and made those winning scores. Thank you for the commissions behind me. And it's just a great day to live in Southeast Alabama, and a great day to be standing up here. So thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. And as you can see, Melissa, you are just so passionate about your work, and much needed work. And thank you for your leadership and pushing through, and really pushing through and getting what we know, this community needs, and we know the community needs. So thank you very much. At this time, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Representative Steve Klaus. It has been said many times, but our Wiregrass legislative delegation is top-notch, and their work and support is recognized throughout the state of Alabama. Please welcome Representative Klaus.
Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate it, and thank you for all of you that have worked so diligently to help bring this crisis center here. This is started off as being a collaborative effort between the Department of Mental Health and our Wiregrass legislative delegation to first decide if there would be a building and a crisis center built. And once that decision was made that, okay, we will do that, then it became an issue of our delegation securing the funding in the general fund budget. And of course, so once those appropriations were put together, and I appreciate Donnie and Paul and Jeff's help with that, initial $6 million for building the building, or having the building purchased and renovated for this center, and of course ongoing operation and maintenance expenses there. So once that was taken care of, then of course Melissa has gone to work, and we appreciate everything that her and SpectraCare have done to make this come to fruition. This is going to be a benefit for law enforcement, for medical personnel, and more importantly for families throughout the Wiregrass region to be able to deal with the adversities of mental illness. It's something that we've been needing for a long time. In the past, what we've had is law enforcement dealing with a situation of someone having a episode and taking them to an emergency room, and 24 hours later they're out on the streets with the problem not solved. And we have to deal with this in the legislature from a situation of our prison system, which is in a terrible situation right now. But a lot of those issues that we've found out here over the last 6 or 7 years dealing with our prison situation is because of mental illness. And if we can get to the root cause first here and try to solve that problem. Hopefully, we're going to be able to solve some of the prison problems that we're facing right now all over the state of Alabama. So again, thank y'all for all of y'all's support now that we've got this together, and just looking forward to that grand opening. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, thank you, Representative Klaus. At this time, we have our new dynamic duo, Mayor Mark Saliba and Chairman Brandon Shoup. You can come to the stage.
Looks like they would have slid the podium where I could be up here, where I could be a little taller. I'm not good. I'm teasing. Yes, this is the new dynamic duo, and we have brought the median age down by about 20 years since we got rid of Culver. All jokes aside, mental health and the care of our people, because this is not just a stranger, this is sometimes family and friends that we deal with. And this is next steps stuff that we're dealing with. It's a great community asset for our police and fire. When a situation occurs with someone, there's a place now that we will have that's open 24/7 that provides a little bit of time for assessment and next steps of what treatment can come next, and start holistically solving the problems of a community. And so I'm grateful for our state delegation, Governor Ivey, for putting funds and monies back into our state coffers that will help to go to solve some of these issues and some of these problems. Very grateful for that, and I'm very proud for it to be in the Wiregrass area as one of the 6 that's provided in the state. So we are grateful. Thank you for y'all's work that you do every single day. It's challenging and it's hard, but on behalf of our city commission, I want to say thank y'all for what y'all do. Thank you.
I also want to say thank you on behalf of the Houston County Commission, especially to the gentlemen that serve in our local delegation. These gentlemen do the right things for the right reasons, and that's why we're here today. We would not be here without the contribution that the state is making this. And thank y'all so much for making this happen. This is a big deal. When I was running for office first time 9 years ago, I was going door to door and happened upon a mental health crisis ongoing, and I could tell the lady I talked to was dealing with a grown son that was having some issues. I could see holes in the walls. I could tell that she was exhausted and she had nowhere to turn to, because the economic realities of I guess over a decade ago sort of forced the state to pull back some of those services. It certainly didn't pull back on the needs for those services. So a lot of folks that needed help ended up in our county jail, and that is the last place you need to be if you're going through a mental health crisis. So I'm very excited. The county is extremely excited, primarily because people are going to be getting the help that they need. So thank you for what you're doing. Thank you so much. Cannot say that too many times. Thank you so much for your contribution for making this happen. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Saliba and Chairman Shoup. At this time, we will open the floor for any questions for Melissa. If anyone has any, does anyone have any questions?
Just for clarification, the location is 2640?
2740 Headland Avenue.
Is that an existing?
It is. It is. It's the former Kindred Hospice, Wiregrass Hospice building there. Mm-hmm. It's just another blessing that everyone here put together that happened upon us. A building large enough that we could find that would be able to be renovated and meet our needs. As I said earlier, the money that was allocated is for operations. So the fact that we have these people behind us that came and were willing to put their trust in us to help us secure a building there, and it's just, unfathomable to me that the community's really coming together. It's what we do in the Wiregrass area all the time. But I'm just never usually the one up here that gets to be a part of it, and see it happen from the inside out. So the building is beautiful. They've taken good care of the building. It's an exceptional building. The location's going to be great because we'll be serving people from 5 counties. You just need to imagine we're going to take that building and convert it into an emergency room for behavioral health. just like the one for physical health.
Just a couple of brief other questions. I know Representative Klaus and our legislative delegation got you $6 million
Yes.
for this. The city of Dothan this morning kicked in almost $1 million more. Will funding come from other municipalities and governments in this area who will benefit from your service?
Absolutely. The funding that the legislature delegated for each crisis center is $6 million. It's a partnership that the governor put together between the legislature and the Alabama Department of Mental Health. They put in $1 million, and then the legislature put in the $6 million. That's where we get to our $7 billion that's operating budget. So that's what it's going to take. And for my colleagues who've had one up for a little longer than a year, they said, hope you can stay within that, depending on what that is. But yes, the county has put forth some money for the building facility in the city of Dothan. The chamber is helping us with that. And then, it'll be serving 5 counties. They come here now anyway to our ERs. When somebody's suicidal in the county that we serve, and that's Henry, Houston, Geneva, Barber, and Dale County, they end up in our emergency rooms here in Dothan many times.
Will there be a revenue component for those who can't pay or within?
Initially, there's not, but the state is looking into that. Some of those crisis centers that started last year, the first 3 that were funded, have started gathering that information. Unfortunately, look at your own insurance. Even if you have great insurance, there are really not many benefits for behavioral health care. And if they are, they're more like treatment programs. They're not really for a crisis. But we're absolutely be looking into that. The state's helping us explore that. We're looking at I spent a lot of time in Georgia. There's a model very similar to this in other states, and in Georgia, they're just now kind of getting to the point where they can look at that. We'll be talking with the other Medicaid and those kind of providers to see if there's anything that that can be a revenue source.
One more brief question. Look down the road 3 years from now. How will we see this community better off? What will we see as the benefits of this project?
I think you'll see that when somebody's in crisis, I hope that you'll see everybody will know to just contact the crisis center, and we'll have the right time at the right place and the right people that can help you, and that we can help you during that crisis. You can stay a little longer if you need it. You can turn you around quickly, and then we can discharge you to the appropriate places that you need to continue on that path of recovery. That's what we wrote this proposal for in mind, and that's what we see in 3 years. Thank you.
Can I expound on that a little bit? The services that people can expect that this center will provide as far as long-term care, short-term care?
Right. When you enter the center, it's going to be much like an emergency room. You're going to have triage by medical staff there. 80% of these positions are going to be professional positions, bachelor's degree or above. You're going to have your nurse practitioners, your MDs, your psychiatrists, nurses, mental health techs, peer providers there, therapists, caseworkers. So when you enter, you'll be triaged just like an emergency room. And then from there, you'll go into an evaluation. And after that evaluation, if you're determined that you need to be admitted, much like an emergency room, we'll admit you. And we'll have 15 beds that are up to 23-hour beds. Many times in a behavioral health crisis, you can really turn that crisis around in less than 24 hours. So we'll have those 15 beds for the 23-hour observation period. And if someone needs to be extended beyond that, we'll have 8 beds that you can stay in up to 7 days for a short time. Hospital stay, but it's not a hospital stay, it'll be a crisis stay. And then, of course, we already have a full continuum of services that we've been putting together over 50 years. We have over 100 residential programs, in this county. We have the Haven, which is a large substance abuse residential program. We have outpatient clinics. We have case management. We have day programs. We have about 60 programs in our 5 counties. And so this was the one piece at the very beginning that's missing out of that continuum. So it'll work very much like an emergency room. As you go through the emergency room and then you're either admitted or you get to go home, we'll do the same. It'll be easier for us to hand you off that next morning to somebody else in the community or back home with a plan.